Today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by Jennifer C. at HomeLifeCultureLink.com, Nino Simeka at MortgageGodfather.ca, and Jewelry Forever at JewelryForever.ca. Enjoy the show.
Broadcasting live from Glenmore Record Studios in Toronto, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, your Sunday morning talk show with interesting guests, live musical performances, and the most fun you can fit in your coffee cup. Hosted by Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
I didn't have a song in mind, so I just did that. I thought I would come up with a song, but I didn't. No Hockey Night in Canada song this week, so for obvious reasons. But good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 134. I think it's 134. I'm pretty sure. Hello, welcome to the show. Episode 134 of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, and I'm your host, the one, the only, Scott Dion Brown. Hello, hello. Aesthetic V9, let's go. What's going on? Welcome to the show. I am USA. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. How are you? Hello to you all. And as I said before, I'm Scott Dion Brown, and I'm joined, as always, by the greatest co-host in all the galaxy, the one, the only,
Regine Alaina. Happy Sunday, fun day, everyone. I hope you're all staying cool in this heat wave that the GTHA is getting. That's probably why, Scott, you weren't singing, because you're just really hot, right? Temperature-wise.
Well, no, both, Regine. But no, I didn't want to sing my Hockey Night in Canada song because, well, the Leafs did not win Game 7 as we in the city of Toronto hoped they would. They did not.
Dun, dun, dun.
However, speaking of hockey, the IIHF World Championships are happening right now.
What does that stand for?
International Ice Hockey Federation. I believe that's what IIHF stands for, yeah. But the World Championships are happening. The gold medal game is today at 1:15 p.m. and Canada will be taking on Finland. So that's fun.
Nice.
Although I will confess, I haven't watched any of that tournament though, but I might tune in and watch the gold medal game.
I've seen this is like such an old story, but do you remember when Canada played at the ACC and they won, the junior team?
World Junior Championships, yeah.
Yeah, and they won gold. Well, I was working at the ACC at that game, and the energy and the environment and just everything was so epic. So I'm sure if Canada wins tonight or today or this afternoon, it'll be just as epic. Just less people.
I think it will. I mean, actually, the World Junior Championship that's one of those tournaments that the whole country really got behind. In fact, this year, actually, it's kind of tragic because, well, just because it happened, it got canceled because of the pandemic. Because it's usually over Christmas. That's why it's such a perfect time. It's like right at Christmas holidays. You know, you're gathering with your family, and everybody sits down and watches the World Juniors. But it got canceled because, well, the pandemic. And then they brought it back, and it was actually not long ago. The World Juniors were like, I don't know, last month or something. And I didn't watch any of it because I didn't even really know what was going on. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I feel like usually the whole country watches, but I feel like I guess people had other things on their minds this year. But yeah.
You would think people would be watching it because everyone was in lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing. There's no reason not to be watching, but I don't know. I feel like the World Juniors now, it's become almost this weird Christmas holiday tradition, and it just wasn't, I don't know. Anyway,
Christmas
how was
in July? Yeah,
exactly. How was your week, Regine?
It was good. What did I do this week? I didn't really do much, but it was good. How was yours?
I mean, same old stuff for me. I had a few auditions I had to do. Actually, I had to do a self-tape audition. I don't think I should say what it was for, but it was for a food-related product.
Ooh.
And for the first time, they were like, this was the callback audition. It was going to be over Zoom. And they actually wanted me to go and purchase some of the product to have in the audition, and they reimbursed me for it. Like they sent me the money for what I had to buy, and it was delicious. So I was happy. A part of my audition, I got to like eat.
You got to eat.
Yeah. So
that's perfect for you.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And actually, I have to do another one. Actually, I have to shoot another one today. There's a different food product, and they also asked me to. Yeah, so
You're
I guess we're going
into a foodie.
Apparently, yeah, we're going through a food thing right now.
Love that.
But, oh, and then final thing. So remember how I said May 31st would be the deadline that I would finish my film?
Oh my God, did you finish it?
No.
Whoa.
But
God.
but there's it will be finished today.
Okay.
Because there's a deadline for a film festival tomorrow, and I will be submitting to that festival.
So don't you wish you had it done on May 30th? That way you don't have to worry today while you're doing your self-take.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. Although I just find, I don't know, there's the procrastinator in me and just sort of the way I work. I have a tendency to like, I need deadlines to stop me. And I know that we've like May 31st is my deadline. But it was like, but all of these deadlines they've been kind of self-imposed, right? They've been like, yes, I will finish this because this is the date I choose. But when there's a real deadline, like for example, if I don't have it in by June 7th, I'm not going to be in. So it's there. But like I said, it was already almost done. Like honestly, May 31st, the film, there was a version of the film that was finished. Like you could watch the movie and it's
disappointed.
Movie. It just wasn't where it needed to be. But
so
now,
disappointed.
Well, we're gonna make it, Regine. So it's finally. Next week. I will be able to actually say to you, yes, the movie's done.
Next week, or you mean tonight?
Well, tonight, but I mean next show. Hopefully, yeah, tonight. Exactly. Hey, Grim, what's going on?
Like, did you finish your movie yet?
Yes. Well, I mean, I will probably be up like really, really late doing it. But
okay, fine. Tomorrow, I'll ask you. Did you finish your movie on time?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, Grim. Good morning. Welcome to the show. He says, hi, Scooter. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Well, Regine, I think we need to meet our guests.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they're well aware of deadlines and making things happen. So
absolutely. That's right. Yes, that's true. Okay, we've got two guests here. We'll introduce them one at a time because I've got bios for both of them, and they're both fairly detailed bios. So what we'll do is we'll introduce one, and then we will read the bio for the second guest, and we'll do the second as well because we can meet them one at a time. All right, so let's meet our first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, our first guest today is... Actually, wait, now I have to think which one is on which screen.
Just read both bios and then bring them both on at the same time.
No, we can do it. You know what? I'm 90% sure I know who's where. Okay, our first guest today is a student of life. Ooh. He's had his own personal battle with mental health and adversity, born and raised in Tanzania for his first 12 years, and moving to Canada for his next 9 years. Exposing him to a range of cultures, he abandoned his ego and did everything with the willingness to learn and grow. Though life brings new challenges and obstacles every day, he's learned to approach them with an open mind. With no interest in academic achievements, he's led multiple business ventures and hired the people in his community to build wealth alongside him. He will always remain a student and never lose his sense of curiosity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Melchzedeck Gabriel.
Amazing.
We really need sound effects.
Or like,
honestly, that was amazing. I appreciate it. I feel like I'm not even going to be able to live up to that. But I appreciate the invite. This is actually an amazing opportunity to be recording with Scott and Regine. I'm looking forward to an awesome podcast.
Well, we're excited to have you here.
Yes, thank you for being here. All right, our next guest is a dedicated coach, and his passion is helping individuals rediscover the truth of who they are, helping his clients find greater joy, clarity, purpose, and personal power in their lives. He's completed his master's degree at the University of Hawaii at Manoa in Asian religious studies, where he further studied his passion of non-dualism. He's a gifted communicator with a deep understanding of the way the mind works in relation to emotions and the human condition. Our guest brings a trauma-informed approach to his work. Patient and wise, he coaches his clients, gently combining varying healing modalities and using calibrated questioning to facilitate deep emotional healing and personal transformation.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome.
Sorry.
Well, no, that's fine. Wow, it is a wow, Regine.
Wow.
Please welcome Samir Vyas.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with both of you.
We're excited to have you here too, but now I'm concerned. Are you going to ask us all the questions, or are we going to ask you the questions?
Honestly, I think it's going to be a great flow. I'm one of those people who loves to talk too, so it's no stress. I think the conversations we're going to have are going to be great.
I agree. Well, welcome to the show, both of you gentlemen. Hello,
Thank you
hello.
so much.
Aesthetic V9 says great intros. Let's go, Mech and Samir. That's right. That's right. And Ali Baksh is also in the chat. Hey, what's up, Ali?
Hey, Awesome
How are
Ali.
you? Awesome Ali, that's right. Well, speaking of Awesome Ali and APSO, so what brings us here today, what brings you two together here today particularly, is you're both collaborating together with other authors on a book that features many contributors. And I believe the book is called Join the Conversation, right? Is that the name of the book?
The conversation.
Be in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't you guys tell us a little bit about that project, and I guess then we can go into your individual contributions to it.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's very awesome to watch like Ali and Raisa's journey. And when they actually presented the opportunity to basically help guide people who wanted to be aspiring authors through that process, it was an opportunity I immediately jumped into, and I know Mech did as well. And it's really a powerful book because you've got a diversity of perspectives coming and expressing their unique learnings that they've had in their life. And really it's the collect of voices, but really resonates as one voice. And so the book is going to be available soon within the summer. And yeah, I mean, we'll go into the individual contributions.
Awesome. Yeah, well, why don't we, let's go into, so each of you basically, so every author on the book contributes one chapter. That's correct? Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so I know, so we'll start with Mech. I know your chapter is called, I've got it here, From Introvert to Extrovert.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about that chapter.
Yeah, honestly, that chapter was I mean, maybe a manifesto, if anything. Like, it was more so like all the lessons I learned along the way, especially in my sales journey. I was actually a pretty introverted kid growing up. I wasn't super out there, and just to myself, and that was just my personality, and that's just how things were. And as I grew up, I kind of started learning, okay, you know what? You got to make money. You got to meet people. You got to have relationships. And I had to push myself outside my comfort zone each and every single day. And now I'm extremely proud of myself for it, because what I learned, I can now take those lessons and pass to other people who might have had a similar experience as me.
Awesome. And Samir, your chapter is about, it's called Behind the Mask.
Behind the Mask, yeah. And it was actually, it's very interesting. When going through the chapter, you don't realize how introspective you become, because you actually have to come in touch with yourself and the journey you've gone on. And for me, it's as many people are, like, if you're children of immigrant parents, you've gone through an interesting identity clash growing up here in the West, right? And for me, it was very similar in that sense. And I mean, I love my parents, but you know what it's like, you can have dysfunction in the home, right? And that kind of created early on a sense of wanting to mediate, wanting to understand what's the root cause of a lot of these problems. And a lot of it was communication. But what I didn't realize was, in order to cope with all that stuff and cope with the world I was experiencing, you quickly try and assimilate, right, to gain conformity. And so that's one of those experiences I went through with school, was finding myself go to school and be one person, and then coming home and being another person, and then going and being with friends and you're another person. And you're like, well, which one is you? And really, this journey was a journey of self-discovery. And the message in my chapter really comes down to helping to inspire people to actually remove the mask we wear. Because oftentimes when, especially in the social media world we're in, we're so used to projecting an image to the world that we're actually not our authentic self, right? And when it comes to showing up powerfully in the world, connecting with like-minded people, you can't do that at a deep level if you're still trying to fit the idea that people have of you, right? And most of my journey was this idea of like fitting in a box of what looks good. And if it looks good, I'm going to present that. But if it doesn't look good, I'm going to reject and repress and hide that. And that would mean anger, it means sadness, it means frustration, all that stuff that doesn't look clean, right? So then what happens is you become disconnected from yourself. And it wasn't until I met my mentor where she really opened my eyes to this idea of, you can be intellectually aware of something, but completely emotionally disconnected and not aware of how you're feeling. And so that was a deeper process of this journey of removing these masks and realizing that to come to the truth of who we are, it's about feeling your deepest feelings and being okay to express that. And I really tackle vulnerability in the chapter. We have like a lot of stigma around vulnerability, especially in men's health, because often men are we have a paradigm, right? Suffer in silence and kind of have this stoic quality to you. But the reality is, with the way mental health is on the rise, we need more men being comfortable to be able to actually open up and express what they're feeling, because otherwise it leads to a lot of toxic behaviors, addictions, right? And a lot of problems. And so this is really my message for people is like, there's power in vulnerability. My life changed the moment I actually asked for help. And when I started to actually open up, the floodgates shift, because all of a sudden life starts to respond to you. Instead of coming from your head, you actually come from your heart. You have way more powerful connection to life and the people that you encounter in life. And so that's really the essence of the message in the book, is coming through a journey of self-acceptance and being able to remove those masks and help support people in that journey of being okay with themselves.
Awesome. Very well said. And Aesthetic V9 says, well said, guys. There you go. So guys, so if you guys are just tuning in, we have two authors here who are part of the of this collaborative book. And if you have any questions for them, please don't hesitate to ask, and we can definitely ask those questions in the chat. But now let's get to know each of you guys kind of individually. We'll start with you, Mac. Tell me a bit about your experiences. I know we learned a little bit about you in your bio, but I'm curious to know a little bit about, who you are and kind of how your experiences shaped your approach to your chapter in the book.
Thank you so much, Scott. To be honest with you, man, I'm nothing special. I'm just like you. I'm just like the viewer watching.
Scott, you're not special.
Well, I mean, Scott's pretty special.
Sorry.
But I'm just like a regular person. What I feel like really kind of makes me different is not being okay with mediocrity and not being okay with stagnation. I always just want to improve. I want to get better because there's so much I don't know. And with that fact alone, I'm just going to remain a student of the game up until the end. Maybe one day if I become enlightened, I'll do something else. But yeah, from now till then, I'll just keep learning and be a student of the game. I mean, I learned that through sales. I mean, it humbles you pretty quickly. I used to think, oh, you know what? I can make anything happen. Anything is possible. And then I started doing sales, and I was like, okay, well, maybe you gotta adapt and do this and do that, and you can make anything possible, maybe with a different approach, a more calculated approach, and things of that nature. What I'm really, really looking forward to is like inspiring other people who might be stuck in a place of low vibration or stagnation, or especially people who can't really push themselves out of their comfort zone, who might be very terrified to make that leap. Maybe they can't really feel comfortable talking to new people. Maybe they don't feel comfortable, walking into a classroom. We all had this moment, new school or something. You walk into the class, you don't know anybody. You're like, oh my God, what do I do? You sit down, mind your business. And then the one kid comes up to you and you talk to them, and that ends up being your best friend for like, the next bit or however that might have gone for you guys. That's kind of my experience. And I just want to inspire other people to be that person who's going to make other people feel comfortable, who's going to step out of their comfort zone. And that's kind of the message I'm trying to push.
Cool. Yeah, speaking of sales, I think we talked briefly beforehand, because, I mean, I used to work a job that was, I wonder if it's similar to what you guys were doing, because you mentioned raising money for charities, but I used to do this job where I sit in a mall and I get people to try to stop and donate money to whatever
He's
charity.
one of those people that you walk away from. You're like, don't make eye contact, don't make eye contact.
But the thing about that job, right, is because it's 90%, it is sales, basically. I mean, we're selling a charity, but it was sales. But 90% of it is sitting there and being ignored by people. But what you're trying to do is immediately build a connection with somebody and convince them to pull out their credit card and write it on a piece of paper to someone they just met, right?
Oh, man.
But
how do you get them to do that? Like,
I mean, that's the thing. I think you guys talking about working in sales, like, I feel like it's a similar, like, you basically have to build like a you have to connect with them right away. You build a connection with them.
trust,
But
yeah.
but the reason I want to talk about it specifically in regards to your chapter was because I know I found personally with me is that I did that job for about 2 years, and I found in those 2 years my ability to like just engage in like small talk or just easy conversation with people, it got so much better in that time because it's sort of it forces you to do that. So I'm curious.
Mhm.
I know you talked about how your experiences in sales. I imagine it must have been similar like that because sales is the same thing. You have to basically speak to somebody and immediately build not just a relationship with them, but almost their trust that they're going to purchase whatever it is you're trying to sell them, right?
Agreed, man. And honestly, you hit it right on the nose. It's not even about the product 99% of the time.
Hmm.
It's about the connection.
Mhm.
We rarely buy things because of, the product being good. It's often just emotions. We buy it because we need it. We buy it because it's urgent. We buy it because, maybe it's something we've been thinking about for a while, and finally we get an opportunity to purchase it and find a good deal, and we
Mhm.
feel excited about it. And that's something that we sometimes kind of take for granted, that human connection, and just having that there. A lot of
Mhm.
people who might be in sales, I don't know if there's going to be people in the audience watching who might be in sales right now, but um, if I were to pass on like a piece of like nugget or like a droplet of gold to them, would be stop selling, start learning who people are, start learning what they want, what they need, and how they can get their problem solved, and then help them find a solution. Because only then will they trust you enough to buy any product from you.
Mhm.
What did you sell, by the way, Scott? Like, what other stuff did you sell
Well,
aside from
I
the
mean,
stuff at the mall?
where I worked, it was all just charity.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the company was basically a professional fundraising organization.
Okay.
So charities would hire this company to go and fundraise for them. So it was different
Mhm.
charities all the time. And so what
Yeah.
you'd have to do is like, a representative from the charity would meet with all of us, and they would sort of give us a presentation on all the things they do, and then we have to
Yeah.
take that message and go into the malls. And I think the company I worked for, we also worked on the street as well. But me personally, I was in the mall program, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's literally the person that you avoid at the mall. The ones at the
Oh
booth, like,
yeah.
hey, do you have a minute? No.
yeah, yeah,
No, I
it
don't.
was it was a rough job. It's like it's kind of job that makes you like you can get very jaded very quickly, especially in the beginning when you're sitting there trying to like you expect people to stop and talk to you, and like you just get used to like, hi, do you have a minute? And most people even pretend they don't even hear you, right? And it's this weird thing that you have
Man,
to just accept that,
Sorry.
you know.
it's just how things are, and it's funny because what I learned on how to deal with those for some people who don't want to buy it from you, who don't want to listen to what you have to say. I think Samir might be familiar with this book, but it's called The Four Agreements, and I believe one of the agreements was take nothing personally. Um,
Mhm.
I used to be the complete opposite.
Mhm.
So being in sales and being, hearing those no's and, being challenged on what your paradigm is kind of humbles you. Then you kind of feel like, okay, you know what? Maybe that person said no because they had a bad day. Maybe that person
Mhm.
isn't in the right state of mind to even talk to me right now.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, like it's just how it is. You can't really get too caught up in those negative
Exactly.
experiences. How about you, Regine? Do you ever did any kind of sales stuff before?
I work in events and marketing, so I know
Oh yeah.
exactly what you're talking about
Oh
when
yeah.
I've also done brand ambassador work, so I totally
Mhm.
understand street stuff, which is why I laugh when I joke around being like, I'm avoiding Scott because as a brand ambassador, they're running towards you because you got free samples.
Oh
So
man.
I get it. I get that life. But no, I think it's really amazing listening to your bio where you were saying you're a student of life because we really are students of life. We just don't look at it in that perspective. And I thought, wow, I'm going to steal that and put it in my bio.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's man, I read books, but I forget the authors. But somebody said, the moment you think you know something, you know nothing.
Mhm.
Um, and I think there's a lot of truth in that. Sometimes we get it kind of when our ego gets attached to something and we think we know somebody, we know something, whatever the case may be, and then we
Mhm.
get a different piece of information. We're like, whoa, you know, what's going on there?
Mhm.
Um, yeah. What about you, Samir? Have you ever like done any crazy sales jobs?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's funny you ask. Actually, after university and working at Starbucks for a bit, then obviously that's how me and Mac met each other, doing a similar job as you, as Scott. And I was very, very much in the same position as Mac, where it's like, you kind of think it's you, right? So you go up to a door and you're knocking, and you're talking to someone. And
you went door to door, like
we went door to door.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. And so, I mean, especially in the GTA, right? You encounter a wide variety of personalities, and it's one of those things where like you learn very quickly not to take it personally, especially when you go and you're bringing your best energy and you're ready to give them your best. You're like, hey, how are you? And then all of a sudden they either close the door right away, or they're just like, no, I don't have time for this. And then after a few doors, you start to realize, okay, it's not about me, it's about them. And that actually helped. And I think there's this journey we all kind of go through where it's like, it's a big crazy world out there, and you're like, how am I going to fit in? And this was part of my journey too, is like you start to realize, like, as long as you're steadfast in yourself, and you know who you are and you show up the way you want to be, most of the interactions you can kind of manage, and sales teaches you very quick that process of letting go of people's emotional responses towards you, and helps you to I think truly get confident in your voice. Definitely helps you to put yourself out there and to be in that uncomfortable experience, and then to find your comfort in that space. And then all of a sudden you're kind of laughing, right? You can meet a stranger and you can strike up a joke or a conversation, and very much what you said, Scott, right? It's instant rapport. Like, until that rapport is made, like, the person's just like, who the hell are you? I don't have time for this kind of thing, especially with most people today. They're like on their phones and they've got other things going on. So and it's one of the funniest things, right? Especially when you start to see, like, we become observant of people, right? You go see like hundreds and hundreds of people a day, start to notice little things about people and kind of create a hypothesis of like, okay, this is how people are operating. Or you can see they can't maintain eye contact, or it's all these little things, right? And then how you can diffuse situations. But people at their base, they have a lot of similarities,
Agreed.
Yeah, you learn a lot about not only yourself, but other people as well. One thing I found about it is, I think it did mentally prepare me for like I'm an actor as well, and a lot of going for acting jobs is making yourself like, emotionally vulnerable for whatever role you had to create, and really creating something that is the best that you can do. And then you have to get used to like creating that and sending it off and performing it for somebody, and then getting completely rejected. And then you have to be able to just take that rejection and go, okay, put that aside and come back and do it again. And you almost have to get used to that. And I do think working like either a sales job or that type of job, it prepares you for that, because you have to just learn to be able to, you just go, okay, yep, you hate, I just did my best, you didn't like it, okay, I'm gonna try that again, I'll be back tomorrow. You know what I mean? So and also, and then sort of the flip side is that it's made it a lot easier for me to say no when somebody approaches me for these things. I think because I now know what, like, I don't know, you guys were probably trained similar, like overcoming objections is one thing we were always taught. So like if somebody says to me, would you like to donate to this charity? And they say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any money on me right now, right? So that means that the person didn't say no. They said, yes, I would, but I can't because, right? Now, people are saying that because they're trying to be nice, but what they train you to do is like use their niceness in the sense that you're like, oh, well, they're not saying no. So that means, okay, well, guess what? Oh, you don't have to donate now. You can actually donate, put your phone number here, and we'll give you a call a little bit later. Or actually, the amount you're donating, it won't be charged until a month. You know what I mean? So now what I found is if somebody approaches me with those things, I'm just like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a reason why? I don't want to. And I just, and I'm just fine with that. And I actually, as someone who was trying to get people to stop, I almost prefer a no, because at least then I know to just, okay, I can move on to the next person now. You're not wasting my time anymore, right? So
interesting. So then when it comes to like a regular life, right, like the viewers who are watching right now, you were an actor, like somebody else might be a singer, somebody else might be just a regular person looking for a job, somebody else might be whatever the situation is, maybe they're struggling in a relationship with their friend or their family member, whatever the case may be. And they're in this situation where they're doing their best, just like how we were doing our sales, doing our best presentation, giving it our best emotion, eye contact, everything, and still not getting like reciprocation from the other person. that could be, of course, like in a relationship or like friendship, whatever. What would you tell this person who's trying their best but not getting reciprocation? And it's a relationship where like it's actually a long-term thing. Maybe it's not just like a one-off person on the street or the mall. How would they go about dealing with that?
I mean, the biggest thing for me has always just been don't lose. I don't know if say hope is the right word, but don't let it affect you in that motivation that it stops you from forgetting why you're doing it in the first place or why you're passionate about doing that thing. You know what I mean? But I think I find more you have to learn to take the rejection, and you need to be able to look at yourself and be like, okay, why did the rejection happen? You know, and was it something like, did you do everything that's possible? Did you do your absolute best and there's nothing you could have done differently? Okay, well then it just wasn't the right connection for you to make. But then you also have to look at it as like, okay, well, what could you have done better? Oh, wait, I look back now and I should have done this, or I could have done it this way, or, oh, this happened and I didn't see that coming. And then you kind of try to use that for how you'll approach it the next time. But I guess the best thing I could say is really don't let it drain you in a way that it destroys your motivation, because I think then once that starts to happen, then it makes it even harder to approach it next time. Because if you start going into each new interaction with this sort of like timidness that oh, they're not going to like what I'm doing. Oh, they're not going to like, I shouldn't even be doing this. Then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So, and then so.
Well,
Anyways.
Samir, we haven't gotten a chance to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
So do you want to take this opportunity to tell us your journey and where Hawaii? I want to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was the life change. That was the experience that kind of opened my eyes to what life could be, especially growing up in a small conservative town, Kingston, Ontario. Like, you kind of think that this is how life is, right? And my university journey was like one very much like most is like, you think you're going to go into science because you're like, oh, medicine makes sense. And so you're like going down this path. And then it was very quickly made apparent to me in first year. It was like, I can grind all I want, but this isn't clicking. Like, this is not what's making me happy. And do I really see myself doing this for the next 10 years? And it was a realization in my first year. My good roommate, he at the time, my good friend, he's like, Samir, if you were to never be paid and you would spend infinite amount of hours learning something and you would teach it happily for free, what would you want to be doing? And that like really paused me and like made me start thinking. I was like, honestly, for me, it's like consciousness and understanding the mind and like helping people to overcome the way their minds are impacting them. And I like read that kind of stuff and listen to that stuff all the time, and you could just do it, right? And so it was like, okay. And there was one course at that time that I was taking that was my only elective. I wasn't falling asleep in it. I wasn't skipping it. It was world religions. And I was like, yeah, I mean, right. We're going to be honest. It was one of those experiences where I'm like, I actually enjoy the class. Like, I'm absorbing the material. Like, you're seeing all these connecting dots about religions and traditions around the world. And for me, that just really inspired me. And it was a journey of like, in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to make this unconventional shift to go from science, kind of like set path, a set understanding of where that will lead. And I'm going to follow this path of trusting my intuition, which is let me go and follow what I actually enjoy. And that was world religions. And I wanted to, at that point, saying in my mind, I was just like, okay, let's just go to the PhD route. Like, that was the thought process. And so I finished my undergrad. And at that point I was getting ready for master's programs. And again, it was one of these like kind of synchronistic things where like you're applying to schools and only a few are responding. And the professor in Hawaii responded. He responded right away, and he got on a phone with me and was like, oh, I'd love to work with you. And that kind of was the beginning of the next chapter for me. And so going to Hawaii was this experience where I got to study deeper my passions, which was going into understanding the mind from the Indian perspective and Asian perspective. And but really Hawaii was a cultural experience. The way people operate there, they're so down to earth, and there isn't any masks. Like, people are very genuine. It doesn't matter whether you go into a restaurant, you go into a Starbucks, you have businessmen, you have teachers, you have workers, and they're all wearing like very relaxed, like Hawaiian shirts and shorts, and like you kind of can't tell who's who. And that really like just got to me. It's like, oh, people are people, and you can connect to anybody. And it started to open me up to the fact that I just want to get to know people more. And there's a no rush attitude in Hawaii that doesn't really exist here in North America. There's, especially as you go closer to Toronto, right? Like, there's this busy go, do. Like, if you're not doing something, you're falling behind, and you need to show what you're doing. And in Hawaii, it's like most people are working like 2-3 jobs, but they have this understanding that like life is going on, and it must be the island like mentality of just like, you know, do the work hard, but enjoy life as well. And that was like this kind of like mind-blowing thing for me to see, and like to see like, you know, at 6 p.m. like families, all of them going out like either hiking or watching the sunsets, and just like these kind of like, to see a society operate that way and really value things that are so different to what you've grown up around was like really a shift for me. And so and then during that journey, I had started working with my mentor at that time, and that was part of my internal growth. And it was really a journey of, again, kind of removing those layers we had talked about. And I wanted to bring this up with the audience because I think a lot of people go through this, but you know, you're kind of, especially when you come up and you've experienced dysfunction in your home, or you've experienced suffering or hardness, you know, you learn to walk through life with a smile on your face, right? And a lot of people I know, it's like, you know, they have the biggest smiles and the big personalities, but they're actually like quite sad inside or upset, or they're not where they want to be in their life. And in a large way, that was me at a deep emotional level. And was when I encountered my mentor, she was like, one of the first conversations she had with me, and she was like, Samir, so how do you feel? And I was like, oh, I feel great. I'm happy. I'm a cheerful guy. And she's like, well, I feel you're quite angry and sad. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, what do you mean by that? I was like, first of all, like, how can you sense something that I don't feel? And I knew she was right. I wasn't denying what she said, but I was like, how do you see this? And this was kind of the beginning of me realizing like I had completely compartmentalized my life intellectually and understood my experiences intellectually, but I had stopped feeling what I was really feeling, because you get used to just kind of sucking it up and moving forward and just go through the motions. And that was the beginning of me realizing like to really heal, to be because I was dealing with anxiety. You kind of I think everybody in this generation is going through some form of anxiety, but you go through an experience of like not feeling like you're enough, not feeling like you can make it, or, you know, the what if scenarios just cloud you, especially when you're going through the school system. You're like, how am I going to be after this? Where am I going to go? And, you know, it's a nonstop cycle of kind of like not letting yourself win emotionally and mentally. And I realized a lot of that was stemmed from early childhood wounds. And that was beginning of me for me, I was like, if I didn't want to say fix, if I could heal me inside, I knew I could be strong and invincible and do whatever I wanted to do. And I think the version of me that's sitting in front of you right now, like 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this. I would have had so much self-doubt. I would have had all my thoughts racing. I'd be like, what am I going to say? Are they going to like me? Like all this kind of stuff that we go through. And
yeah,
you go through a journey. You know, I think as we get older, I think the biggest thing is to actually get more comfortable with yourself. And that's a lot of the work I do with people on a one-on-one basis, is really just reminding them they're actually okay how they are. It's really the story they're creating in their mind that's creating their suffering. And if you're able to actually detach from that story and actually see it for what it is, you actually have all the capabilities and you have all the resources right now to make a move forward in the direction you want to. But it's that fear, right? And there's so much fear that kind of inseminates in our lives, and we have these expectations that we get from our family and our parents, and then we create our own expectations. And then that inner critic is so loud inside, we're like, okay, might as well not do anything because I'm not going to do it anyways, right? And we get this kind of sense of self-defeat before actually going through it. And that's why I appreciate what you were saying, Scott, too, is like acting, you have to put yourself out there, and then in the face of rejection, you're like, okay, I'll move to the next one. And I think that's the resiliency we have to kind of cultivate. But especially for men and for mental health, there's this thing around, okay, if I am defeated, it means something about me at a personal level. And then it can really create a psychological story which holds you back from doing the next thing. And to teach people and really inspire people that you're actually okay. And those mistakes and those wounds and those scars, those are the things that actually teach you strength. And those are going to be the things that you're going to be able to speak about when you're okay with yourself. And so really for me, it's embodying that journey of self-acceptance and hoping to inspire others that you can actually accept yourself. You have gifts inside. We all have a light inside that is unique to us. Like, it's very interesting. I found out just as we have like fingerprints that are unique to us that no one else in the world has, our the retinas that we have, like our eyes, like the design we have in our eye is completely unique to every human being. So even though we might share the same color eyes and all this stuff, there's a unique imprint even there. And that to me kind of signifies like no one has gone on the journey you have gone on. No one's walked through your shoes. from ages 3 to 7 to 15 to 21 and so on. Those have been you going through that journey. And the more you can actually, instead of having shame or guilt about the past experience, accept it for what it is and accept the wisdom you've gained in that journey, that's going to give you infinite amount of leverage moving into the unknown future. But it's a future now that you can be confident because you're confident in yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, actually thinking about what you've just been saying, especially I do a lot of gaming streams, and in the streams I get a lot of younger people, like teenagers, sometimes even younger, and and sometimes some will talk to me or say stuff in the chat, like maybe they're having a hard time at school, or like other kids are making fun of them, or they don't feel comfortable, they don't feel like themselves, or all that stuff. And one thing that I kind of remember, and it does touch on what you were just talking about, was how when you get up people tend to think, especially when you're younger, you think that like everyone else has everything so figured out, and everyone else is so confident, everybody knows what they're doing, and you're kind of just, oh, I don't know what's happening, right? And meanwhile, what I've realized now, looking back at all of those experiences, even the kids that were kind of mean, or the kids that like I didn't get along with, who I thought were like, why are they like that? I've realized now that like every kid is just going through the same thing you are, right? And they're just like kind of how you're talking about the masks and presenting a certain image to the world. Everybody is doing that, and the only reason you're aware of how what's going on in your mind seems so frantic is because you can see your own thoughts, but you don't see everybody else's thoughts. But if you could, you'd realize that you're in the same boat as everybody else.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, I think, a lot of part of, I don't know, growing up a little bit is realizing that everybody is kind of very similar in that regard. We're all going through it the same way. We're all just trying to figure it out and navigate.
Absolutely. I think that's honestly what my experience has been too. And I think you said it right on the head. It's like we're all in the same boat, but it's like we quickly go through comparison, and especially with social media, exasperates that comparison. And we think, oh, they are there and they're having a great time, and I'm here. Look at me. And we don't realize comparison creates chaos. And our own mind is the greatest projector of all the possible worst case scenarios that are never going to happen, but also kind of create that fear for us, and it kind of creates a freeze experience for us. And very much that journey of opening up about mental health has been one of my missions, is like, if I can be open about the journey I've gone on, people will have their perceptions of me. For so long, I tried to control people's perceptions of me, which is why now I'm like, let me not worry about that. Let me instead just be myself and have a genuine, honest conversation, so that might, if someone is in their dark place, realize, oh, hey, it's actually possible for me to get out of it, or actually, I'm not alone. I see other people are going through that. And I think that's what we need more of, especially right now in a like pandemic world or post-pandemic world. There's going to be so much mental health for so many people, or especially younger generation, right? And so being okay to express your feelings and to not feel judgment for that, and to not feel like, oh, I'm somehow behind the pack, or I'm making a mistake, or my life is messed up. It's not. Everybody has their own mess, and there's a message in that mess. And if you can actually find that message, it's really your gift to the world.
Beautiful,
man. That was like,
that was deep.
I was taking mental notes.
Let's go.
Man, also, I want to ask you a question, Samir. So when it comes to comparisons and stuff, right? Like, obviously, with social media, with people just showing the best version of themselves constantly, not showing the, what's going on in the background, and people just kind of getting caught up in the comparison. How could we now either change our strategy on social media, or like change the way it's affecting us, so that we're not comparing ourselves and maybe getting motivated? Or how do we make that switch from comparison to inspiration, or comparison to motivation?
I think it's comparison to creation, right? Like, we go into comparison, we freeze, because we're all of a sudden we start taking ourselves out, and we do that in our thoughts, right? We start judging ourselves, and self-judgment can be really the poison that stops us from creating something that could effectively change the world, as you probably know, Scott, right? Like, when you create something, you never know if it's going to have a small impact or a big impact or go viral, right? It's one of those things where you put it out there and kind of trust, and we can't really know until we show ourselves to the world, and until we show up. And I would say with social media, start. There's that phrase, don't let social media use you, use it. So I would say you start creating an alignment between your word, thought, and deed, especially as you express yourself on social media. Don't post on social media to get the likes because you think that's going to get you the approval. Post what something resonates to you, make it unique to you. When I started Instagram, I said, let me make Instagram a memory card for me. Like we used to have photo albums. Let it be a memory card or a photo album for me to look back and see my journey. And then if it's a value for others, that's a bonus. So in the same way, let your art, let your creations be a memory for you of the kind of journey you've gone on, as opposed to doing things for the validation, approval, attention of others. Do it because it makes you happy. Maybe you like singing and no one in your family knows that. And you put it out on social media and there's a tribe out there of people who love your singing, and I think
that's probably my singing is terrible. Probably no tribe also hear my singing. But I do see what you mean. Go on.
Yeah. And no, and that's exactly it. It's just like we all have something that we really are great at, something that makes us like magical, and we become alive when we do it. Maybe it's you reading poetry, maybe it's you sharing your art, and social media has given us that opportunity, if we trust ourselves and are willing to actually show up, to find those people who actually see us. And this is the sad truth. Most of our families, most of our close friends, they see an old version of us. They don't see the version we're becoming. And so then we're scared to let them go as we're trying to become the version of us that we know ourselves to be. But in turn, those people will come around. You just have to be so supremely committed to yourself that this is the path I want to walk. If you want to be a gamer, game. We're now in a reality where you can make, generational wealth from gaming. It's like that. So it's one of those things where it's like the possibilities of the past don't meet us now. We have huge expanse of new possibilities, and you have to literally trust and bet on yourself that you are going to make it, and just be willing to do the work of showing up every day. That was probably my hardest piece, because when I would kind of go through my own spiral, I go into what I call the hermit mode. Let me just turn off social media. Let me just not talk to my friends. Let me just stay in my room kind of and be in my own self-pity, and it's that thing of like, I'm just woe is me, but it's also, you take away your opportunity to receive help and support from people who have maybe gone through it. And that was a big shift. It's realizing like, show up no matter what. Showing up is actually 100% of the work. Like you guys today, let's say for instance, you guys weren't feeling great, but you made this commitment. You're like, I'm going to still do it. And you don't know what the conversation is going to be. None of us woke up knowing what the conversation was going to be.
Yeah, we did.
We trusted. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, we fully trusted that in the moment we were going to do what we needed to, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And the more we can trust the moment, we can trust ourselves in that moment, anxiety dissipates. It's our anxiety kind of proliferates because we don't trust the moment. We sit in our mind judging what's going to happen, 10 hours from now, tomorrow at that business meeting, when we talk to that girl, whatever. And we stop from living, and we stop from being in the moment where the magic actually happens. So I like what Max says, like when you abandon your ego, you actually just show up, and door knocking showed us that. And I think a lot of life shows us that, but it's just about not kind of falling victim to your mind's thoughts about the world and about you. It's about saying, I'm more than that. I can actually do something bigger than what my mind is telling me.
So, well, first off, Samir, there's a lot of love for you in the chats as you're talking. Actually, both of you. Normally, Scott and I will like interject and read the comments, but I think there's so many positive ones out there that after today's show, the both of you should go on to the live chat and just read all the love that you're all getting. It's all praise going towards the two of you right now.
I'm so glad.
The chat's been fantastic. Let's do the ad break. And then we're going to come back with more, because I'm really liking where we're diving. And I want to dive more into the social media aspect, because I think that's something that's had a huge impact on basically how people navigate themselves in the world. So I feel like we should talk a bit more about that when we come back. So we will be back in a moment. But first, let's do the ads. Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode of The Sit Down is brought to you by some very important people, right, Regine?
Yes.
They are, of course, our advertisers. Yes. Hey, Regine.
Yes, Scott.
Do you want to find out what your home is really worth?
Maybe.
Are you buying, selling, investing, or renting a home?
I'm not, but my parents are, and they're using this person.
Ah, well then, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer C., realtor at Home Life Culture Link, is here to help, and she is helping. She's helping your parents right now. Call or text Jennifer today at 647-403-8887. Don't deal with just anyone. Speak to a professional. Jennifer C. at Home Life Culture Link. To see her current listings, visit homelifeculturelink.com. The Mortgage Godfather is here to give you advice with any mortgage needs you may have, and he will shop to find you the best mortgage. Nino Simeka, mortgage agent. He'll give you an offer you can't refuse. Find out more at mortgagegodfather.ca or call 905-604-6955. And it was brought to you by Jewelry Forever. Conveniently located at CF Markville Shopping Center on 5000 Highway 7 East Markham, they do custom-made jewelry, repairs, and change watch batteries, all done on site. Jerry over at Jewelry Forever is an absolute artist, and if you follow them on Instagram, you'll see they've been doing a lot of really cool. He posts a lot of videos about his repairs and custom stuff he's creating.
TikTok is.
Oh, TikTok as well. There you go. So get in touch. They also do giveaways on there as well. And we have an amazing deal worked out with them, don't we, Regine?
We do. Once the store is open, make sure you go in and let them know that Scott and Regine sent you, and you'll get 15% off your entire purchase.
That's right. 15% off. Mention the show, 15%. You'll be sure to find something beautiful in the shop, or if you have a vision for something custom, he's the man to make it. And you can find out more at jewelryforever.ca. And it was brought to you by Deliciousness Treats.
Hot chocolate bombs if you really want hot chocolate during this heat wave. Juice bombs if you want to cool down. Dipped Oreos, smash cakes, and more. Check us out on Instagram at deliciousness_treats and on Facebook at Deliciousness Treats.
That's right, everybody. Deliciousness Treats. Sweet treats for you and a friend. And like I said, it's an ad, and obviously I know Regine, but I can still say personally, I've eaten those things. I've drank those things. They're wonderful. And actually, a hot chocolate on a hot day can still be very nice. Very, very nice.
Is that what you're drinking in your mug right now?
No, but I would if I would. I wouldn't be against the idea.
You would if you ordered. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So Deliciousness Treats, everybody. And if you would like to advertise on the show, it's very easy, right, Regine?
It's simple. All you guys have to do is email us at radioshowad, that's radioshowad@gmail.com.
That's right. This is a live show, everybody. We do it live every week, and we do the ads live every week. What does that mean?
We do.
It means that you can personalize the ads week to week. If you have an event or a sale or something happening at a particular time or particular place, you let us know. We let your potential client base know in real time. It's an amazing way to build a brand new relationship with a potential new audience. Get in touch. Radio Show Ad, radioshowad @gmail.com. And we're back. Hello, everybody. If you're just tuning in, we are here with Melchzedeck Gabriel and Samir Vyas, and two authors, contributors to the book Being in the Conversation. That's the name, right? Yes. Great. I should get that right. Put together by the amazing people at APSO. So we were touching on a little bit about it before we went into the break.
Can I jump in before Scott talks about something else? So
yes,
you're both
Regine.
authors. You're both contributing to this book. But have you ever written your own book before this?
Not prior. I'm actually in the middle of writing my first book right now, and this was kind of the launch piece from that. So definitely inspired from this experience.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, honestly, never really fully published a book before. I had some ideas of what I wanted to kind of write before, but I had this mental success barrier, thinking that, well, who's gonna read what I have to write? It's not really, what's the worth of it? And I felt like I needed more experience before I tell somebody else what to do. And I feel like this book was that opportunity to kind of jump off and get something started.
Makes sense. Yeah. Well, it's a great way to kind of get get your feet wet, so to speak, before diving into the full experience. It's kind of like it's like anything, like creating music or anything. You kind of work you start smaller, maybe make a demo or you make like a few tracks, and then it becomes a full album. You know what I mean? So this is kind of the beginning of that. Yeah. But yeah, so we were going to talk a little bit about social media. I wanted to push on a little bit more because I feel like it touches on both of what you guys were writing about, you know, because we've got going from introverted to extroverted, because there is this whole element of, you know, the persona that a lot of people create. Let's think, say Instagram, for example, when you're creating this person the person you create on Instagram is not actually you, right? People are putting forward this like idealized version. And in a lot of ways, you could call that like a mask of what they're creating, right? But I feel like it's a weird time, I think, particular to be a younger person, because kids didn't used to have this pressure to create a brand of themselves, like this brand of this version that exists. You know what I mean? Like, children used to be able to just, you know, put on their Ninja Turtles sweatpants and then just go run around, and you know what I mean? And it's kind of this different thing, and I feel like there are additional pressures being put on kids. So I don't know if you guys wanted to talk a little bit about how that affects people and how it kind of relates to what you guys are writing about. Whoever wants to dive in.
Yeah, like social media is huge, and you're right. It is a mask that a lot of us, I think, almost have to put in front on social media, because it might be, for example, business or, you know, connections. We want them to perceive us a certain way, and I don't think that's necessarily terrible if you're going about it the right way, because I don't talk to my mom the same way I talk to my friend, the same way I talk to my girlfriend, the same way I talk to, you know, my business partners. So if I can have like a platform where I can show my best qualities and have everybody kind of consume that, you know, a simple way, I think social media is useful for that. I think where people kind of get it wrong is when they attach their self-worth on there, when they attach, you know, their self-confidence, their self-value on people's reactions to what they're posting or whatever they have on there. That's really when it really flips on itself, where social media stops being a tool and it actually becomes a tool for suffering, and, you know, a terrible experience. When our confidence and our self-worth is attached to it, that's a personal decision that we've made to attach onto that. It's just a tool. It's just about how you go about using it. That's kind of how I go about it. What do you think about it, Samir?
Yeah, no, well said. It is definitely a tool, but I think it's hard when you have, again, a whole world using it, and you have all genders, all ages, you know, every demographic is playing in this game. So you become almost like the odd one out if, let's say, you're not playing that game, right? And I think what people forget is it is on some level like a game, you know, and this thing of showing up in the world authentically versus showing up as this image you want to present. It's a slippery slope, especially for younger kids, because they're developing their identities, they're developing their sense of self. And this is kind of my gripe with it, is really it's that whole comparison factor we talked about, right? If you're going through a journey, it's your journey. There's no way that someone, you know, in Idaho or Boston, Massachusetts has gone through the same journey you've gone through, right? And so for that person, then, you know, they're coming from, it's like with door knocking, someone comes from left field and swears at you or comments something, you know, negative. It can really throw you off if you haven't had that exposure to building that resiliency inside, you know? And I think kids need to really be aware of the fact that, like, not to almost take it too seriously. It's that whole thing Max just said, like, when you've attached your self-worth to it and your self-identity to it, it can become pretty negative, right? Because then if you're finding your whole world or your whole experience is coming through this digital tool, you can also lose touch with the world around you, right? And that's one of the things I think also this pandemic has kind of exacerbated, is like, you know, for me, I've found I've had to simplify. Okay, I'm not going to be, you know, on there as much. I'm going to go and take my dog for a walk. I'm going to go for a hike, or we go and work out, or do something that kind of makes me in touch with myself. And if people can kind of strike a balance for themselves between things in the real physical world and then using, you know, aspects of social media to support that creation in the physical world, then that's super beneficial. But again, it's this thing, and a lot of times social media feeds the insecurities we already had, right? Especially with the way the algorithm works. depending on what you're looking at, it'll only just show you more of that, right? So it can become this confirmation bias of like, you know, if you're seeing really like negative stuff, or you're seeing, you know, stuff that's just completely out of your experience, it can also create this kind of small mind effect where you feel like it's all about them, or it's all those people have made it, or there's no room for me in the world. You know, this market is saturated, when the world is big enough to have everyone. And it's one of those things I try and remind people with this abundance mindset is like, you know, every tree in the forest gets the exact amount of leaves it's requiring and it's going to need it. Just because this tree is next to that tree, it doesn't mean that this tree isn't going to get the leaves because the other tree got it, you know. And there's this lack mentality in people that, you know, if they get fame, or their video goes viral, or this experience, you know, blows up their business, there's no room for me. There's no one out there for me. And that's kind of the lack thinking. So I would just really emphasize to people, use social media to expand your world and to expand yourself, rather than to limit yourself and limit your world and make you think that the world is smaller than it is. There's a lot of space, and there's space for everyone.
What about women, man? For example, like Regine, you guys probably have it the worst.
Well,
there's so many people to compare yourself to, and it's just crazy. How do you go about handling that?
Well, for me, I do pageants. So a lot of I have different worlds. I have my personal world, I have my pageant world, and I have my event world. So you just met me, but Scott knows I have multiple Instagram accounts, because one is private, which is just for my friends and family. I have a public one, which is more for events and podcasting and pageantry. And then I have one specifically for my pageant title at the moment. You guys are talking about the negativity that comes with social media and with younger generations. And it's true, looking at it in a pageant perspective, not just Filipinos, but pageant bashers are really harsh, to the point where I remember I was competing at a pageant back in 2012, and we were always told, do not read the comments. Do not read the comments unless you have like the big, like if you can easily like let the water go off your back, then go ahead and read the comments. But I remember there was one girl in particular, she read all the comments, and from that had an eating disorder. So that's where the negativity can come from. But then you can also read the comments and see all the love that you're getting. And so when people ask this, such a typical pageant question, is social media good or bad? It can be a little bit of both. Yeah. Right? You have the negative people out there, and then you get consumed, like you were saying, of all the negativity and then comparing yourself to everyone. But then you also have the positivity. Like you can I went on Samir's Instagram, and you can see all the positive quotes and the uplifting, and that can totally switch your mind as well. As a woman on social media, yeah, it can be challenging seeing, oh, this girl's got this outfit, this girl's got this car, this person's got this body. I wish I had that look. But I'm now also in this point of my life where I don't care what people have. I'm content with myself. I'm content with what I'm posting. If you don't like what you see, then you can go to the next page.
Interesting.
But
honestly,
it's again, because I come from a pageantry world. I come from either I can compare myself to all the people I'm competing against, or I can embrace and join their journey as we all compete together. It's not a competition. I now see it as a sisterhood, rather than I want her body, I want her outfit, I want her swimwear. Now it's, oh my God, I love your swimwear, I love your body, you look amazing. So
interesting. So what I want to ask you guys is, how do you now, when you do see the bad comments, or you see the good comments, or you hear some bad feedback, whatever. I mean, Scott probably has it the worst in those gamer lobbies, man. Those can be pretty hectic in there. But how do you now not take it personally? Like it's hard. Like it's easy to say it, but then when we're seeing that comment, or we're hearing, this negative energy coming our way, how do we either block it or avoid it or reframe it? How do you guys typically handle that?
I can weigh in on this part for a little bit. Actually, what I do find in my gaming streams particularly is, thankfully, my gaming streams have been pretty chill. But I think it's also because I find the way that I conduct myself when I'm streaming, it kind of sets the tone for what I like happening in my chat. And so what I find is, like, when somebody says something negative, or when people start arguing with each other or attacking each other, I generally just don't even acknowledge that it's there. And when I see positive comments or people say nice things in the chat, I'll respond. And so I think what happens is, because a lot of times when people post things, specifically if they're trolling or they're just trying to get attention, they're going to post what works, right? And so if I don't feed the negativity, it tends to kind of go away, because if the person's trying to post things to get a reaction and they're not getting the reaction, they're going to go somewhere else where they can get the reaction. Or if they say something nice and they see it gets a reaction, then they'll go with that. So I do find that regard, that's how I deal with the chat. But in terms of just comments in general, I find, and this is probably what advice I'd give to people in general, but like you need to have your own idea of what you think is good or bad in terms of what you're posting. So if you put out a song of you singing and you believe that it's the best you can do and you're happy with it and it's great, then it shouldn't matter whether or not people like it or dislike it. You know, if you're happy with it, if you think that you've done a good job, then that needs to be enough for you. And hey, other people might like it. Other people might think it's the greatest thing ever. Other people may not, you know, and you need to be okay with that. In fact, I woke up 2 days ago, I think, maybe more, and there was a comment on my on one of my videos. It was a comment on my rock version of It's Raining Men, and the comment was, I might get it wrong, but it was, "This is the worst version of this classic song that I've ever had." Okay, hang on, let me get the whole comment though. "This is the worst version of this classic song that I've ever had the misfortune to listen to." Right. Man. So, and I read that and like, and I laughed. I just laughed. I was like,
of course,
you know, it's funny. But I can imagine somebody who was, you know, like Mech was saying, if I'm attaching what other people say, you know, to my self-worth in some way. If I was like, oh my gosh, that guy doesn't like it, like, oh, you know what I mean? But the thing is, like, I wouldn't have put that video online if I wasn't happy with what I did. And if somebody else doesn't like it, that doesn't impact how I feel about it, right? It's the same thing how, you know, I like Star Wars, right? Especially when I was a kid, they were like my favorite movies. There are people who hate Star Wars, who think Star Wars is dumb, right? And my enjoyment of that movie will never be impacted by how other people feel about it. And that goes the same with the stuff that I create of my own that I put out there. If I'm happy with it, it's fine. So I could get a billion hate comments, you know. Now, if I'm trying,
no, just kidding.
Yeah. Now, if I'm trying to create something that I want to have mass appeal, right? Like if you're trying as an artist to create a song that you want other people to listen to, and all you're getting back is negativity, it's probably a good idea that you know, if you're trying to create something that other people are going to like, maybe you're going to try something different with your next song, right? That's part of, you know, becoming an artist and creating something for public consumption. But again, it should never be on your own. You shouldn't let it affect who you are personally. You just need to have your own barometer for what you want to do. And if you like it, then that needs to be enough. And you need to almost work on that with that. So that's how I deal with hate comments, and that they kind of roll off me because I've never created stuff. If I'm happy with it, then I think it's good. And that's really as far as I need to go.
So you only value your own barometer of value, and then whatever somebody else brings in, you could take it as feedback, but for the most part, you're only gonna stick with your original perspective, right?
Yeah,
like I can attest to everything Scott said, because I've known him since, let's say, 2013, and we've worked really closely together in the last, say, 3-4 years, and he's been thrown different comments in the past, different curveballs, and I've seen him under stress, and he literally will just let it roll off his back, or he'll just laugh at it, be like, that's your own opinion. So
I actually considered pinning that comment to the top of it, because it's just so funny. Like I read it and I was like it's funny because, again, it's just a funny thing. I wake up and I'm in the habit of, like, you know, probably everybody, you wake up, you look at your phone, you clear your inbox. I don't know, that tends to be my routine, right? Spam. Oh, comment. You know, this is the worst thing that I've ever seen ever. I'm like, okay, you know, all right, what, you know, but it's just, again, basically it's like this. If I was going to post something and I was not confident in it, and I thought, ooh, this might not be good, I probably wouldn't post it then, right? Like I'm putting out something that I think is good, that I like. If it's not at the point where I'm happy with it, then I'll keep working on it until I am happy with it, right? And so once it's out there, once I've made the decision, okay, it's done, out it goes. You know, I'm happy with it at that point. You know, and I'm not gonna. It doesn't bother me. I'm confident enough in my own like tastes and like, yes, for me this is good. If other people don't think it's good, well, that's their taste, but I'm happy with it. This is what I wanted it to be. So. Yeah.
You ever made like a meal for the whole family before?
Like cooking?
Yeah. Are you guys any good?
Yeah, probably.
You ever had anybody criticize?
Yeah, I mean, I've cooked some. Yes, I mean, I remember I cooked something for my girlfriend once, and it was like I was trying to make this thing with beans, but I didn't really know what I was doing, and but even that's actually a good example in that I was not confident in the meal that I put on the table, right? So when I had a feeling that one wasn't gonna, you know, but if I cook something and I love eating it, you know, if it's like, I don't care if somebody else thinks it's bad. I mean, from their perspective, yeah, I'm a bad chef. But if I'm loving every bite, well then that's it.
Exactly.
That's it. So, yeah. So that's how I approach that. Another thing I did want to ask you guys about, again, kind of with the social media thing, is I like, Mac, when you mentioned about maintaining it as a tool, because one thing I think about with people is people are always saying things like, oh, we shouldn't put like filters or like you know, face fixing things and all this stuff, because again, it kind of goes to creating this unrealistic perspective. I've had a different view of it in that I just think people need to be aware of like I said, it's a tool and it's a tool that people have. Like, for example, if I know that my phone has apps in it that can smooth out skin and I can manipulate the shape of all of my body and I can mess with the lighting and if I know that I have those tools, then I need to be aware that everybody has those tools, right? So when I see, you know, an amazing photo, I need to be aware that, okay, this person has posted this probably using all of those same tools, you know? So I don't know. What do you guys? So I don't know. Maybe we should go more generally if we're talking about the social media thing. Is what do you guys overall? How would you? What advice would you give to somebody, maybe a young person who wants to start posting stuff on social media? How should they? What mindset should they have when they go into it?
Samir's got his old branding on social. Go ahead, Samir.
No, for sure. I think boundaries comes to mind. I think oftentimes, kind of like what you said, Regine, is like you have to kind of know what you're wanting to put out there. And then if you know this is going to be private, or if this is going to be for friends, or if this is going to be for my business brand, let me create those boundaries and let me construct that. And that, remember, boundaries is a way to maintain your safety, maintain your sacred space, for lack of a better word. So it's like, if you create a boundary and you're like, okay, I'm going to post only about work, and I'm going to only post about my gaming content, but I'm not going to post anything about my family. That's fine. That's a boundary, right? And I think sometimes there's a little bit of a want, or can even be an obsession around fame and this idea of, okay, you know, back in the days, it was like movie stars became famous. Now you can be a Twitch streamer, you can be a person on TikTok, you can be a person on Instagram, and you can become famous, right? And well, I know a lot of people who, you know, have spoken about the fact that like you could have all those followers and still be very unhappy. You could have all those followers and maybe not even be making as much money as you think, but what have you sacrificed? What have you given up? And there's something unique about the human experience where we get to still maintain some level of privacy. You still get to maintain some level of your own self's experience. And so as much as I say, like, be your authentic self on social media, share the things that light you up, the things that are fun for you, that you enjoy and you want to create conversations around, I would say don't give everything that you kind of value and hold dear to yourself into the world, because not everybody needs to see that. You know what I mean? And I think there's a part of just understanding that for yourself, especially as you're a younger kid, right? You kind of think, if I do this, or if I post this, like, I'm going to get this. And it's just kind of questioning, taking that step back to say, like, what do I want the impact of this post to get? Is it just to get comments? Is it for it to go viral? Is it to share value? And that was something I had to experiment with too, because like in the beginning, I would just do like photos in nature and stuff because that's what I loved. I like taking photography. But then it was like, okay, I want my Instagram to kind of shift, and I want it to be like, if you come on this page, you're going to get value from it. You're going to be able to learn something about a conversation that I want to open up and expand. So that kind of to shift it. And I think that's just part of the kind of the nature of experimenting. But you definitely get to learn a lot about yourself through it. But I think just know what you want to get out of it, and don't give up everything.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And
Big gems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mac, did you want to weigh in on what advice you'd give to somebody approaching social media? I think you touched on it a little bit already, but if you want to add anything else?
Yeah, it's the same stuff I was saying, use it as a tool. I think Samir, you kind of really hit on the nail there as well when you say being aware of what message you want to put out and what kind of content you want to put out and why that is, because you're right, man. We get caught up, we're posting things, we're getting all this validation, especially women, man. You guys have it rough. You're getting all these likes, comments, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, cool. Post up another one, and it's good. But sometimes you might get to a point where like you might not get the result that you wanted. You might not get the reactions that you wanted. And now you've based your confidence on other people's reactions about you or whatever the case may be.
But is it just women? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
I think it's all of us. It's all of us,
I was gonna say, it's not just women.
No, whoa. I'm not
it's
coming for you. Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah. But I think it's just there are different challenges that women have to deal with.
Yes, for sure.
Or rather there's maybe more of one type of attention than another type. Maybe.
Are you sure?
It's
because
different.
I'm gonna step in here for a second because I'm the only girl here. But I've watched.
Get him, Regine.
I've watched shows like Catfish. I have brothers. I understand what guys go through when it comes to social media and wanting to also fit in. It's not like, I know there's women out there. Mary, I know you're watching. Feel free to join in the conversation. But I know you also have your own insecurities in life. Like my brother would just start posting random things, and I think the best advice that my mom gave him as a younger child was, what would your grandma say if you posted this? And that's where he started to set boundaries for himself. But Mary's in the comments, there you go. But I'm just saying, like, as men, you also have this whole, do I want to have the dad bod or do I want to have the six pack? So it's not just women who have this, oh my God, I want her body, I want her makeup, I want her whatever. You also have your pressures as well, but it's now looking at how Samir was saying, you got to really understand what you're posting, who you're posting for, and really who you are as a person, and just be like Scott. And if you post what you want and you know that you are 100% okay with what you're posting into the world, that's great. Or be like my mom. What would your grandma say if she saw you posting a topless photo of yourself at the beach or whatever it might be, or your new car? What are people going to say about your car? Like, there's all this pressure for all genders of all ages and all walks of life. It's just a matter of how am I going to gravitate, or how am I going to react when I get a comment or a like? Am I going to count my likes? Like, that bothers me is when people are sitting there and they're counting, this post has this many likes, this post has this many likes. And trust me, I am the only girl here. Tell me none of you have gone on your Instagrams or your Facebooks or your Twitters or your TikToks and been like, man, that guy's got it good.
Oh, for sure. I think it's one of those things we naturally do, is like, you want to see the numbers, and it's just a way, and that's kind of the social proof, right? But it's like, it's what we've been talking about. I think if you can let yourself still post in spite of that, even if you post something and doesn't get as many likes, but you like it, you dig it. But I think you're right. And I think the challenges are real in terms of like, your insecurities are exposed online, right? And like, you get to see somebody who's doing the thing you want to do, or has the thing you want. And then I think it can be one of two things. It can either be a point of like, a negative spiral, but it can also be fuel and motivation to say, and the cool thing is with social media, and I would definitely emphasize this to people, start connecting with people. A lot of people look at social media as a way of like, it's like posters. It's like they're there, but you can DM a person, you can connect to a person, like reach out and strike a comment. Maybe that person that you had on a pedestal responds back, and now you have a new friendship, and I've had that experience, and it's been like one of the most like surreal experiences to say, oh, people are people, right? And so don't get caught in the hype kind of thing,
Exactly.
Well, and Mary, thank you for Mary Long just subscribed to the channel. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. Also, I think another piece of advice I might want to give to people who are thinking about posting on social media is, and particularly to kids, because it's usually kids that I see this, is like, you don't actually have to post on social media. Like you actually don't ever have to. There's almost,
Really?
you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like, because I think what happens is, especially now, because people look like all the people they like, all their famous people or all the people they follow or whatever, they've all got an account, and so they're posting like, I don't know, what they're eating or what they're making or whatever it is they're doing, right? But it's important to remember, like, when you're, especially if you're watching a celebrity post something, or someone who's a public figure, even when it looks like they're posting something that's just, oh, I'm cooking an omelet, you know, they're not just doing it because that happens to be what they're doing it. Everything they're posting is very calculated. Like they're posting that thing of that seemingly like random picture of them posting an omelet because they're trying to make you feel a certain way about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, me personally, I look at my Instagram as, it's basically just a big billboard. It's basically an ad campaign for, like, Scott Dion Brown is like cool. That's all it is. That's what it's for, right?
Scott
And
barely posts on his Instagram.
Yeah, but that's because it's literally for it's just for me to promote myself as like an actor, streamer, public figure type thing, right? So even when I post a picture of me doing something silly or whatever, you know, I don't post 99.9% of things that I do. Okay, if I just, you know, after this, I'm gonna go make breakfast and I'm gonna probably go sit and I'm gonna, you know, I don't know, watch videos for a little bit. I don't know what I'm
Snip
gonna
his hair.
do. Right? Sure.
No,
Yeah, I might
you're working
snip my
on
hair.
your video.
I am going to be doing that as well. Yes. Point is, it's highly unlikely I'll be posting anything, right? And actually, if I wasn't a public figure or like trying to be as an actor and all that stuff, I probably wouldn't even have social media. Like because you have to think, like, when you're going to post something, why are you posting it? Don't just post it because you feel like, oh, well, everyone's posting it. Everybody's, you know what I mean? Like, you don't actually need to do any of it. You know, really ask, what is this for? Who is it for? What are you trying to say when you're posting something, right? And yeah, just remember that whatever you're posting, what other people are posting, it's very calculated and it's very curated and like tailored for a certain purpose, right? And make sure, and also people don't post the things that they're insecure about. So when somebody posts something and they seem so confident or they look so amazing or they've got this amazing angle and they look so good, that's the only one that they're posting, and they're not posting any of the other things. You know what I mean? So it's just
54 selfies.
I mean,
yeah.
I have.
Exactly.
I've actually taken, as being a reigning beauty queen right now, I've actually used my social media to talk about the things that you don't want to talk about. I talk about anti-hate crimes and what has happened to me. I talk about the residential schools and how that affected me. I talk a lot about things that make people uncomfortable. I have purposely posted on Facebook things about Asian hate crimes that might make my family uncomfortable to make them uncomfortable. But then again, Scott and I, if you look at our social medias, they're very different. I post, it's funny because Scott, you were talking about cooking an omelet, or a celebrity posting cooking an omelet. I baked cookies on Friday. I put it in my story, and then the next day 3 people were like, look what you made me do, and they all baked cookies.
There you go.
The power of social media.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting. But I what I was just trying to get at was, like, make sure if you're like a young person, you see other people posting and stuff, like you don't have to, right? Like, and if you want to, that's cool.
If you want to, what would your grandma say about what you're posting?
Oh,
sure,
man.
but and again, yeah, think about, like, what's your, you know, like basically what you're saying there is, like, think about who's your audience, right? Like, and also it depends what type of social media you want. If you're creating a Facebook page and the only people, or a private Instagram, then the only people who are seeing what you're posting it for your friends. Great. But you don't have to make a public one. Like, is there a reason why you feel you have to post something online that the entire world, that somebody on the other side of the planet might see? Because that's what you're doing. And it's just, you know.
Then you get catfished.
Or you get catfished. Yeah.
Sorry, I've been watching too much. I talked about this last week. I've been on this
Yeah.
catfish craze, and I found it on Crave. So I'm literally starting at
on
season
Crave?
1, and I'm starting on season 1, and then working my way down. But it's just so interesting. Like you were saying earlier, you know, some people just get so invested in who they become on social media and getting not the gratitude. I can't think of the words today, but they feed off of this persona that they put on social media, and they could be a catfish, and they could see themselves so negatively, and then somebody using somebody else's photo, let's use Scott's photo, and get all this love and attention for who you're portraying to be, but then you're really insecure, but you're loving the attention that people are giving this one person's photo. Social media is a scary world.
Yeah. You ever been catfish, Regine?
No. I'm too I like to investigate on people. So if someone remember, I don't know how old you are, but I remember back in the day when there's like T.Wire and like people want to meet up and be your friend. Oh God, you have to be so careful with that.
Oh, yeah.
I aged myself, but yes.
Double, triple check.
Scary world.
Bring
out
someone with you.
Mary Longax also brings up a good point. You are the only one in control of what you post, but always consider that it may be reproduced, duplicated, or reposted / shared somewhere else without your knowledge. That's a good point too. Is that anything you decide to post on the internet, you should generally have something going in the back of your mind that, one, this is forever, and it may end up somewhere you don't necessarily plan. So there's always that as well. Like pretty much every email I send or message I send, even in a private conversation, I always have some level of expectation that this, especially if it's a group chat with maybe a bunch of people,
this could be screenshotted.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm always very aware that, like, okay, if I'm going to say something, there's like 5 or 6 people in here. The audience might one day be much larger than this 5 or 6 people. So that's a good point, Mary Long. Thank you for bringing that up. That's another part. Well, we've been going for like an hour and a half. We should probably start to wrap things up. But why don't we?
I do have to go. Yes.
There you go. So why don't we? Before we wrap up, any final thoughts, either on your individual chapters, guys, of what you're contributing, or just how you'd like to wrap things up?
Samir?
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, thank you guys for having us. I'm glad we went to the hour and a half. We definitely went into flow, and I kind of had a sense that we just have a great conversation. But no, to everybody who's listening, the book is going to be coming out sometime this summer. You can go to apso.ca to sign up as an email list and just get all the updates for when the release date happens on Amazon. Honestly, for me, it's this journey of just wanting to share it with people. Like, be true to you, like accept yourself as you are. And like, you know, if there's a past you're going through and a struggle you've experienced and you just have this idea about yourself, it's not the thing that's limiting you and defining you. You have a future that's far bigger than your past. You just have to be willing to show up and go through kind of the doorway. And most of the time, it's just a thought that's holding you back. And so when you actually experience the thing in reality, it far exceeds our expectations. So bet on yourself, trust yourself, and looking forward to having another conversation with you guys, hopefully in the future.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Mac?
What I would like to leave with the audience is just start questioning where your thoughts are coming from. That's really all I'd like to give you. Just have an awareness. If you're feeling insecure about something, you feel a certain way about something, you ask yourself, where is that thought coming from, and what kind of energy is that thought portraying, and how could I go to a higher paradigm and have a different outlook, a different perspective, a different approach to whatever the situation may be. But book is going to be on apso.ca. Best way to reach me is IG. And also Samir is one of my close friends. If you're somebody who needs some personal coaching, I will vouch for this guy. This is who you need to reach out to.
Appreciate that. Yeah, feel free to reach out if you've been listening. Very happy to respond in DM. So just find me on Instagram. I think you guys will put the handles.
Awesome. Yeah, and I was just going to get you guys right now. You can also, for people listening as well, just on the audio, like let us know what your social media is, where people can find you guys. So
yeah, sure. So, you can find me on all socials at SV Samir Vyas, and then my website is samirvyas.ca. And so connect with me. I'm happy to connect.
Cool. And Mac?
Best way to reach me is probably just via email, KSE Worldwide. KSE Worldwide @gmail.com, or Instagram at the beginning, middle, and end.
Love that.
Awesome. And those links are in the description. Instagram links are in the description. I think I put the website links as well. And yes, you can pre-order the book at apsow.ca, apsow.ca, to see the chapters of these two incredible minds, as well as many other authors who contributed as well. Regine, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on my YouTube channel for The Pageant Sit Down, live every Monday and Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Link is in the description. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Not really Twitter, so ignore Twitter, at It's Regine Alaina. Or you can follow my pageant journey to Galaxy Internationals at Ms. MS Galaxy Canada on Facebook and Instagram. First off, I just want to say to Mac, I did not mean to call you out on calling women out on social media. No hard feelings. I just wanted to put it out there like, hang on, wait a minute. I got to defend all the women out here. It's just me.
Of course.
And Scott.
Put the team on your back.
And Scott, where can people find you?
You can find me right here, where you're watching this very video, youtube.com/Scott Dion Brown. I'm also on Twitch and DLive, also at Scott Dion Brown, but YouTube's the best one because not only do you see all the live streams, but you also see all the other content, music, vlogs, unboxings, all that fun stuff. We're having a great time on the channel.
He enhances your life with his videos.
Exactly. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Scott Dion Brown. But like Regine said, ignore Twitter. I've been trying to ignore Twitter more and more. I still post on it a little bit, but honestly, I'm really not a big fan of that website. I'm going to keep my Twitter account because I don't want somebody else to steal it and start catfishing as me. There's that. But I am posting on it less and less. I just feel like it's not a great spot anymore. But Instagram's there. I have TikTok, Scott Dion Brown Official, but I'm not really on there very much. I'm more using it for watching stuff. YouTube is the best place. Oh, and Mary is also in the chat, and she is also an author in the book. That's right. You can.
We've had her on the show.
That's right. You can find her on Instagram. Mary Teaches Yoga. Mary, thank you so much for contributing to the conversation. That was very nice to have you involved as well. And
speaking of social media, make sure you check out our social media on the show. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, right, Scott?
That's right. On Instagram, it's the Sit Down Radio Show. Mm-hmm. And Twitter, it's Sit Down Scott.
Sit Down
So you can follow. Yes.
And Facebook, it's the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
Exactly. And also, we do check our social media on there. If you ever have questions for us, or if you want to...
I check social media.
Yeah, well, I'm on Twitter. I take care of the Twitter. But
Does
if you have...
go on Twitter?
No, but we don't. It's not very active. But the only reason I'm mentioning it is if you want to reach out to the show or talk to one of us or ask a question, that's something maybe you want to ask some of the guests or anything like that. Or that too, if you haven't, or you know somebody who might be interested, or any of that stuff, feel free to reach out to us there. Sit Down Scott on Twitter, or the Sit Down Radio Show on Instagram, or the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown on Facebook. But we've reached the end. This was a great chat, guys. Did you guys have fun?
It was great. Oh, I had a lot of fun, man. That was really great to get to know both of you.
Thanks for asking us questions. I think this is the first episode that we've had, Scott, where we were asked questions too.
Yeah. No, I liked it. It was it was much more, there's a lot more give and take as well.
Yeah.
It was a sit down. Yeah.
It was a sit down.
Love it.
Exactly.
It's great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. We do this show every week, and Monday to Friday, I do gaming streams in the evenings, and then I've also got other videos, as like I said, vlogs, music, all that kind of stuff. So please subscribe, and make sure you follow all of these 3 people. Follow all of them.
And
Links are in the description.
Scott, you finish your video on time.
Yes, I'm gonna go edit. I'll be editing all day. The film will be done.
Nobody message Scott until tomorrow.
Oh man, the accountability. I love it.
He has no choice. He has
It's
to.
necessary.
Meet the deadline. That's right. All right, everybody. We'll see you all next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Awesome.
Bye.